Ed here, lessons from my mentor. This is one that comes as a question several times. People know about our kids. Our kids are just amazing humans. They do some cool things, but that's not what it's about. It's about their hearts, and all five of them have super good hearts. And people are asking, how did we do that? First, all credit to grace of God. Second, Simran and my first wife as well for my two older kids. They deserve, most of the credit. I'll tell you a few things we did to sort of incorporate them with family, life, career type things that you might find helpful. And this is the counsel that I shared with the individuals who called me about this. One is have them volunteer with you. You've heard me talk a lot about volunteering in healthcare. So I've had most of my kids volunteer with me in healthcare. One became volunteer of the year for a major academic medical center. Another time, volunteer of the year at a science center. But I like the healthcare one the best because I was able to do it with them. So work with your volunteer office and do it as a tandem. So that's a great way to, for me, it was father-son, father-daughter bonding. So that's a really good one for many, many different reasons. Another one is have them study, again, age appropriate, the same books that you're studying at work. So I've always done these book clubs at work. We always had quarterly book clubs. Sometimes we have like 4 going on at one time. So this is where, I always lead by example. So I would lead a book club. So every quarter we would have like a 6 or 8 week long book club. So we'd meet every Tuesday for breakfast or every Tuesday for lunch. And we'd pick a book and we'd study that book. And so I had my kids study that same book and I would pay them $10. And they were easy books. Most of the books we picked were pretty simple to read. Otherwise, you get bogged down. So these were good leadership, teamwork type books that were like stories. Ken Blanchard wrote many of them, just to give you a sense for what I'm talking about. And so they were kind of fun reads. And so I'd pay my kids $10 to read them. Then they'd have to give a 1-page report. And then we talk about it over at our next date. So that was a way to incorporate them learning all the same things that I was teaching and learning myself in the workplace. They were learning as well. And I tell you, they're super intelligent. And I think one of the reasons is not only the reading we did with them when they were like little babies and on our laps and reading to them all the time, Dr. Seuss and whatever, Care Bears or whatever, I can't remember the Berenstain Bears, but we did it as they're teenagers too. So, and then it's just kind of fun to see them talk about it. And, it is kind of cool. So books, volunteering, observing at work, everyone, or used to anyways, take your children to work day. I try to do that more often than just once per year. So to the extent that you can allow it as a leader and to the extent that you're able to incorporate it into your day, do it more often than just once a year. So typically the once a year things, they're good. So I'm not saying anything negative about them, but they cater especially to the kids that are there that one day. So they're not getting a complete true experience necessarily. So I would do it on a regular basis with our kids. In fact, because we homeschooled, it provided a little bit more freedom. And so we literally, like, I remember one of my kids was really good, was really techie. And we were, for a long time, we needed what do we call it, a complaint registry. This was before we had a service desk where we could take this in. We just needed a database that had everyone's requests, and we just didn't have anything to manage it. And everyone's request and, what the disposition of that request was, who was it assigned to, basically a big access database. And no one really had time to do it or the expertise to do it. Well, my kid did. So he came in and he worked for like 30 days. That was his home school. For 30 days, he had a cube and just got there and he did it. At the end, we were using his database and other departments would use that database. Quite clever. And so it was great just to incorporate them into the workplace and to understand what's going on. So I think the more experiences you can give them, the better. So they understand what you do, what's going on in the workplace. They can think about their own careers, like, what do I want to do? And so as they get older, again, just telling you, sharing things that I learned along the way and I did along the way is bring them to, like, I had one kid that wanted to be a heart surgeon, right? So this is one of my favorite stories where we were so thrilled that she wanted to be a heart surgeon because, obviously we're both in healthcare, as Simran and I, and another daughter. And so we created this opportunity for her to observe the world's foremost cardiac surgeon doing surgery. And so I'll never forget, I got the phone call. My wife was smart about it. She's like, Ed, we need to train Shalini, what to expect. And I'll do that. I'm like, don't worry about it. She can handle it. So I get a call like an hour or so into the surgery, and it's from world renowned surgeon. She's like, Ed, your daughter, she's just an amazing person, but she's fainted. So my wife had to go down to the OR and go get her. But it was that experience that where my daughter, she's still in healthcare, but she determined she probably didn't want to be a cardiac surgeon. So give them exposure to different things. We did that with ED on a Friday night. I think this was when we were teaching lessons about drinking and driving. So I had friends that were ED docs, were like, hey, what's the best time to come into ED, which was, Friday, Saturday night, around midnight. It's just experience. And maybe they would like it, like all the hustle, right, that takes place and all the high energy that takes place in that environment. Or they may think, hey, this is probably not something I want to do. And also the bonus is, hey, I probably shouldn't drink and drive. So create experiences like that. You can, no matter what your role is, you don't have to be the CIO or anyone to go ask someone. I think most people will say yes to you if you're genuine and they, understand, what you're trying to do. I don't think anyone's going to turn you down. So you can do all these things. So again, the same things that you're learning at workplace, have your kids learn those. Like I gave you the example with the books, but it could be something else. Volunteer together, allow them to observe, allow them to work, give them a project from work. Why not? And allow them to do more than just one day a year for take your kid to work day. Those are a few different ways we incorporated our work into the overall family. And again, there's not one thing that made a difference. Like, why are they the way they are and why are they so successful? So there's a lot of different things. But when it comes to how we incorporate it into workplace, that was it.